Hi everybody, I'm Raven the Swift, aka Adam Harrigan. I'm a Sword Knight Warlord in the game of Amcard, which basically means I'm like a super black belt in foam fighting or something. So today this video was submitted to me by Travis Tressier, aka Kurai. He's here in the yellow, and his opponent is Zane. Kurai asked me to give him some critiques on his fights to help him along his Warlord path, and hopefully, which means to improve his skill and make him super badass. So, I'm going to go ahead and start it, and I'll give you my thoughts on what we're seeing. So right off the bat, I see Travis's leg is slightly turned in, his hips are square, and his shoulders are square, and his center of gravity is over his lead leg. And as you can see, straight from the beginning, I'm just going to rewind this real quick. You'll see it actually causes him to hop a little bit. His back foot comes off the ground. When we talk about good footwork and what good footwork should look like, your feet should never leave the ground unless you did it intentionally. Like if you're jumping for something or something like that. But the general rule of thumb is both feet should remain on the ground, especially if you intended for them to remain on the ground. Um, you can see they start exchanging here. Neither of them are really controlling range that much. They're not really being deceptive. They're using some slight feints, but not that many. In single sword, we really want to see a lot of feints, a lot of range control, and a lot of contention over this first phase of the fight. It's called the initiation, or long range as some people call it, whatever. Because it is single sword and there aren't a lot of resources, you have to use the tools that you have, which are your body mechanics, your feinting, your deception, anything that's not a physical piece of equipment. So, because I call them positional faults or body mechanic faults, whatever you want to call them, they're basically when something happens where I'm going to pause this real quick, where you exited your stance or came out of your stance due to circumstances that could have been in your control, but were not. These include rounding your back, squaring your shoulders and hips, your feet not being in the right places. These things that have a systemic effect over your fighting, which cause issues when you're fighting. And that being, I'm going to start playing this again. When you're moving forward and your back foot comes off the ground, your weight's forward, now you can't back up. So if you initiate with something and don't kill your opponent with it, like this just happened here, you don't kill them with it and you can't back out and you're not controlling range, you're left to just hopefully block their attack if they can. Ideally, we don't want to be blocking their attack. You should just not get hit. You could be using range control. You could be throwing counters into a stop hit. I don't consider those blocking. And because he throws his first shot, didn't work, he's stuck in range with his opponent, and his opponent can throw shots. Now he's not controlling the range of the fight, and he is left to the whims of whatever his opponent does, which will lead into discrepancies in your fights. Discrepancies being, obviously, the fight doesn't go the way you want, you're more likely to lose now. You're apt to being able to take more damage because you're not controlling range. It's these body mechanic issues are a systemic issue. They start affecting everything. That's why it's so important for people to work on their body mechanics and to ensure more consistency of results of the results that you want out of your fight. Obviously, we want to control everything in the fight. We want to control if we win or lose. If you're losing, there's a good chance that it's your fault that you're losing. So let's go ahead and look at their fight. They go and reposition. Again, they square up. They're both in range. They could be possibly tired. They both fight in Colorado. Who knows? But they're both fighting very lazily and standing in range and just exchanging blows. This doesn't lead to a lot of consistency for either fighter, and it's mostly mechanical. Travis is a little bit older, quite a bit older than Zane. I think Zane's 22, 23. And Travis is getting caught by coming in range and throwing one shot, or maybe one or two, but Zane ultimately gains back the inertia and the momentum to bring the fight back to him, and he's just having to soak a lot of shots. It's not very good. He goes for a lazy stab, gets hit in the arm. Is a decent exchange. So these exchanges are symptomatic of people who block strike a lot. I've had the same issue. I consider it a bad habit of just accepting your opponent's attacks and blocking. You know, you take a lot of time developing some skills. You want to use those skills, so you end up just letting your opponent hit you and just trying to block strike them. Well, if you do that, you lose some control of the fight since you're actively choosing to receive the blow from your opponent. If your opponent does anything weird in the middle of that, you can lead into some discrepancies there as well. Nice switch step. I kind of like these fighting hand forward. Trying to get the hand in the fight, get more of his resources into the fight, which is nice. They're trading a lot of arm shots and... Oh, nice footwork. Let's go back and look at that. So, Zane leads out to the left side. Use some nice lateral... Okay, it's in this next one, sorry. He starts leading out to the left side. He's going to start throwing to the inside. There's double back body with some nice lateral footwork. That was nice. Took a nice left step, 2 double steps to the inside. Travis is fighting very linearly. Zane is using more dynamic footwork, which is one of those things of using all your resources, including range control for your footwork. We also want to work on positioning with your footwork. If you can bring that into the fight when you're fighting single sword, you're recruiting more resources than your opponent is. And again, recruit every single piece of resource that you can when you're fighting somebody who has equal equipment, or you're using just single sword and you don't have something to guard yourself. Again, hunching forward. Zane through the arm, Travis through the inside of his arm. They're both armed. Zane with a nice reverse wrap. You can avoid those with good footwork.
4 minutes.
Oh, nice throw to the inside. That was a nice money shot. Yeah, we're seeing a lot of similar exchanges here. Zane not getting tired here, seeming to be the younger fighter. I think Travis is 28. He might be 31. I don't know. Travis actually starting to use a little bit more footwork here. It's a nice lateral movement. It's even if you start using it during exchanges, you really need to start. You need to use your footwork at the very beginning of the fight, since that's when people tend to want to act. You need to use it at the very beginning and not after the fact. You know, use those resources as best possible.
One more.
Nice. Let's do the last fight. Now my closing thoughts. Zane got caught there throwing a shot. I'm gonna actually rewind that. He got caught in range, and Travis, not having to move, kept the superior mechanical position and was able to just hit him a lot. That's what happens when you commit to a position against a standing opponent. You can just make the decision, or you are at risk for whatever decisions they make. Yeah, he only took a half step forward. He just got caught. Good exchanges nonetheless.
Yep.
Pause it there. So, my closing thoughts to help Travis would be, if your knee is not fully rehabilitated, try to rehabilitate your knee. If it's permanently damaged, it is what it is. I think you should spend a lot of time doing footwork drills to fix your stance. That way your hips aren't having to be square and your foot isn't having to be turned forward as much as it is. I think you should really get into some, adopt some of the fencing drills that Brett put out on his YouTube page, which I'll put on mine as well. The fencing drills and range control drills that Brett and I made a couple years ago are actually super, super good in developing strong linear footwork control. They're also great because they are explained by principles that you can apply them to your lateral footwork. A lot of them are rules like not overextending on your thing, making sure that your feet in their proper place at all times. These are things that can extend to all your footwork and not just fencing footwork. I would spend a significant amount of time trying to work on those movement faults and trying to maintain a good position throughout the entire fight. That way you're not overcompensating when you're overextending or hunching or finding yourself within these faults. If you can do that and you can maintain a good stance throughout the fight, I think you'd be widely more successful. I didn't see any glaring issues with your hands at all. You have really good hands. If you have better footwork, you can also set up for better attacks too. So I would say work on your footwork, work on your body mechanics, and get better at that. And yeah. Anyway, guys, I'm Professor Raven, aka Adam Harrigan, and I hope you guys have a good day.